Welcome back into the GSMC Sports Podcast for our final segment of the show. We're going to be giving some updates on the Lakers coaching situation. They, of course, fired Darvin Ham after they were eliminated from the postseason, and the search for the next coach is on. And it is sort of interesting to see the Lakers have so much to sort of handle in this offseason. Of course, LeBron James approaching free agency and whether or not he is going to stick around there. My very brief thoughts on that are that I think that he is going to stick around. I think that he really enjoys living out there in LA around Hollywood. He has his family all set up there. I don't think he's going anywhere, at least for this season. Maybe let Bronny James settle into wherever he ends up following the draft before sort of coming and stealing the show from him. LeBron has more than 1 year left, so he still has some time, I think, to sort of work his way to a situation where he can play with his son. But there was an interesting report from Brian Windhorst yesterday that could possibly sort of go against that, and that is that Brian Windhorst of ESPN said LeBron James told the front office that they should be prioritizing the head coaching search around Anthony Davis instead of himself. Davis is thought to be the person who's going to take over long-term for the Lakers there. He has 2 more full seasons under contract, a player option headed into 2027-28, where feel like the Lakers are probably going to want to keep him happy and keep him around, but there's obviously still a ton of time between now and then where we'll figure out how that works out. But Davis does have sort of the more long-term potential of being a Laker, and I think that plays into part of it. I also think that LeBron is probably sick of being so heavily attached to the conversation surrounding coaches in the past, which has been a narrative that has sort of followed him around for a while, specifically from his second stint in Cleveland. I thought is when he was sort of at the peak of his power and his influence on an organization, and he's been, again, sort of associated with the coaching situations as well as kind of roster moves as well. And I think to some degree LeBron at this age is probably sick of that a little bit. So he wants to make it very clear that he has no say in the coach. If the coach doesn't work out, it's not on him, especially as we have all of these rumors coming out about the potential of JJ Redick joining the Lakers as the head coach, knowing that LeBron and Redick have this outstanding relationship anyways before he even were to potentially come to the Lakers. But ultimately, I think that is the right decision, and for whatever reason it is, I'm glad that LeBron is sort of understanding the situation as a whole, and that he doesn't know how much longer he's going to be with the Lakers. It seems like at times he is sort of, specifically if you look at the previous trade deadline, he was sort of trying to put pressure on the organization to mortgage their future, whatever future picks they have, in order to improve the roster this season. And ultimately, I don't believe there was a move that would have made them a true finals contender this season alone. So there's a whole lot to unpack with the Lakers' upcoming offseason. But as far as the head coaching search, I want to give some brief thoughts on that. We'll start with JJ Redick, considering the fact that just mentioned his name. Redick is somebody who I do believe has a future in coaching in the NBA, and it sounds like that's something that he is really interested in. And I would like to see him in that role because JJ Redick is one of the best minds in sports media, best basketball minds in sports media right now, and I feel like I learn a lot from listening to him, and I'd like to see sort of how that plays into the coaching realm. But I would definitely feel a little bad for JJ Redick if this was his first landing spot, because it's under all the spotlight, all the pressure, and I don't see this necessarily working out for him in LA, where there are a lot of roster holes, and I kind of feel like the Lakers, they might just be past their contention window right now. they can still be a playoff team for the foreseeable future as long as they have LeBron and Anthony Davis, but I don't see them as finals contenders headed into next season. Let me know in the comments section if you disagree and why, but I wouldn't be necessarily in favor of Redick joining the Lakers staff, although, again, if this is the opportunity for him, I wouldn't be mad at that whatsoever. But another name that has really started to come up in this coaching search is James Borrego. He was the former head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. He spent some time as well in San Antonio, being on the bench under Popovich for a couple championships, as well as being in New Orleans with Anthony Davis, which is why his name has sort of popped up so much more in contention, is because of this idea of trying to cater more to Anthony Davis. It sounds like they had a positive relationship when they were together. And Borrego was thrown into a disastrous situation in Charlotte, so I definitely wouldn't write him off because of that first stint by any means. I think the Lakers need somebody with maybe a little bit more experience. Again, to the JJ Redick point, there isn't necessarily, a great basketball mind will take you anywhere from a coaching perspective, but as much as I don't believe the Lakers are finals contenders, their front office is going to want finals contention, and you got to have somebody who's a little bit more day one ready for the job in my eyes. So I think Borrego would be a fantastic option for them. Micah Nori, the assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves, that if you watch any of the Timberwolves games, he is the one that is sort of standing in place of Chris Finch, where Chris Finch is still present and, coaching the team, but Micah Nori is the one sort of walking up and down these sidelines now that Finch is dealing with this knee injury, and would be maybe a little bit funny to some degree of the Lakers choosing to go with a coach who stepped in a big moment for a successful team, because that's what they did with Luke Walton in the mid-2010s, where Walton was with the Warriors and Steve Kerr. I think it was when he got back surgery possibly, and Walton stepped in and didn't end up working out for him in LA, about a decade ago, but would be at least a little bit funny to see them sort of follow the same path and see if it would have any bit of a different result. But I do think that Nori is a solid option for them as well. I would lean with Borrego. I would also potentially lean with Sam Cassell, who personally, as a Celtics fan, I would prefer to see him stick around the organization as an assistant coach. He wasn't the number one assistant. That was Charles Lee. He was actually hired by Charlotte this offseason. But Sam Cassell is somebody who's been around the game for a while, former player, of course, and has spent the last 15 years as an assistant coach, and was somebody who could have been in contention for getting a head coaching gig last year. That didn't happen. Now, it could be maybe a year from now if he's going to stick in Boston. I'm sure he becomes the lead assistant. But Cassell is definitely somebody who I think the Lakers could take a swing at from a head coaching standpoint. But let me know what your thoughts are, who you hope the Lakers go out and get, and also curious to hear what you all think about the possibility of the Lakers actually being a finals contender next season. But that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Thank you to the GSMC Sports Network for allowing us to host this show. Remember to like, follow, subscribe wherever you keep up with us. Check us out on social media as well for more exclusive short content. We are live here every 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, so we will be back tomorrow. We will see you then. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna